By 2043, humanity believed it had reached a rare period of planetary equilibrium. War had become too automated to be emotionally satisfying. Pandemics were managed through predictive bionetworks, and climate stabilization arrays had dialed in Earth's temperature like a thermostat. Food scarcity dropped to statistical insignificance, and generative AI systems were embedded into every sector from healthcare to diplomacy. There was still crime, still injustice, still inequality, but the world's narrative had shifted. Survival was no longer the central concern of the species. Efficiency was. This new era was celebrated in headlines and documentaries as the plateau, a supposed final evolutionary stage before interplanetary expansion. The United Nations, now restructured as the United Human Assembly, had formed joint programs with China, the United States, the European Federation, Pakistan, Brazil, Nigeria, and Japan to accelerate orbital industrialization. The mood of the planet was confident, arguably arrogant. Humanity had finally convinced itself it understood the universe well enough to shape it. We thought wrong. The breaking point began quietly. On May 5, 2044, several radio telescopes, most prominently the Karachi Space Observatory, the Atacama Large Millimeter Array, and Japan's Kagra system, recorded a transmission that defied categorization. It was not random cosmic noise, not pulsar rotation, not fast radio burst behavior. It was structured, rhythmic, almost musical in its construction. The waveform's harmonics aligned with prime number intervals, and its decay curve matched no known stellar or black hole activity. Most puzzling of all, the signal contained what AI decryption engines call directional indexing. That meant it wasn't broadcasting outward like a lighthouse. It was scanning inward, concentrating toward a point. That point was Earth. Within 12 hours, the signal overtook scientific channels worldwide. Academic chat rooms lit up with theories ranging from new neutron star objects to deliberate extraterrestrial communication. News media picked up fragments of the conversation, but inaccurately. The public was told it was probably a cosmological anomaly, a vague phrase that sounded reassuring enough to be ignored. Dr. Asim, director of signals at the Karachi Space Observatory, was one of the first humans to declare the obvious. "This isn't a message," he said during a closed consortium briefing. "It's telemetry. It's scanning us." His statement traveled quickly through the scientific underground, even as governments tried to delay public disclosure while they processed the implications. The AI analysis cluster known as Hermes delivered its official conclusion 2 days later. Probability of artificial origin, 99.73%. It further classified the event not as communication, but as geospatial data acquisition, the kind a surveyor would use before landing or resource extraction. We assumed it was the beginning of dialogue. We thought wrong. 3 weeks after the first detection, the transmission ceased without pattern or farewell. There was no second contact, no decoded instructions, no cosmological explanation. Atmospheric news cycles moved on. Economic markets dipped for 2 days, then recovered. Social media turned the event into conspiracy jokes and extraterrestrial memes. But the scientists watching the moon did not laugh. On June 27, 2044, cameras tracking the lunar dark side captured a distortion across the surface. At first, analysts assumed a technical malfunction or dust interference. But after stabilization, the image revealed something metallic suspended 20 meters above the regolith. It was neither spherical nor angular. Rather, it seemed like a shifting geometric shape, as if space itself refused to give it defined edges. It cast a shadow, yet emitted no heat signature. It moved with perfect stability despite the absence of propulsion jets or reaction control thrusters. It was observing Earth. Within hours, the object was classified as a non-terrestrial construct, and the United Human Assembly triggered the newly drafted Non-Human Contact Protocol, something written years earlier as an academic exercise but never intended for real-world use. Most of the world wasn't informed yet, but those who were faced a terrifying reality. Something had arrived, silently, mechanically, purposefully, without introduction or request for permission. The first emergency assembly was chaotic. Global leadership fractured into predictable camps. Military commanders demanded immediate action, interpreting the object as an invasion precursor. Diplomats argued that contact was the only rational path. Scientists insisted that neither attack nor contact was appropriate. The first order of business should be understanding what the construct was even made of. Metallic objects do not levitate without torque, argued Dr. Yamada from the Japanese Aerospace Research Agency. If that thing is ignoring Newton, we need to reconsider our impulse to shoot it. But the military bloc was louder. General Keaton of the North American Defense Coalition summarized the hawkish position bluntly. If something is scanning our planet, positioning itself on our satellite, and ignoring our hails, that's reconnaissance. In military terms, reconnaissance is never friendly. Still, no action was taken. The world waited, tensions building like a pressure cooker. Meanwhile, the lunar construct pivoted slowly, always fixed on Earth, tracking rotation and cloud formation patterns as if logging environmental behavior. Then it transmitted again. At 2:14 Universal Time Coordinated on July 3rd, every active radio band on the planet, military, civilian, scientific, received a short burst signal. AI decryptors processed it in seconds. It contained no greeting, no cultural bridge, no attempt at mutual understanding. Only classification. Category 3 civilization detected. Observation phase concluded. Evaluation begins. The message was clinical, emotionless, more akin to a field report than a first contact protocol. It categorized us. It ranked us. We were not treated as equals or unknowns. We were assessed like specimens. Humans assumed this was step 1 of negotiation. We thought wrong. At 9:47 Universal Time Coordinated, the construct fired a silent beam into the moon's surface, a thin line of white light that vaporized a strip of regolith and extracted metal vapor into a hovering containment shell. After analysis, labs determined the beam had ionized lunar soil to extract oxygen and titanium. This wasn't communication. It was resource acquisition. The realization was devastating to the scientific community. We were not considered fascinating. We were considered data. When the news finally reached the public, leaked by whistleblowers and later reluctantly confirmed, the world oscillated between disbelief and dread. An alien object was on the moon, mining, scanning, and ignoring us. The human ego struggled most with the fact that we were being observed but not acknowledged. For centuries, we imagined aliens landing in Times Square, requesting diplomacy, marveling at our achievements. Instead, we were being processed like an ant colony in someone's backyard. Humanity reached its emotional breaking point 2 months later. On August 31st, 2044, Operation Kovacs Redline was initiated by a joint coalition of the North American Defense Coalition, the European Federation, the Chinese Orbital Guard, SUPARCO, ISIO, and the African Strategic Aerospace Network. The plan was ambitious. Line the construct sensors using synchronized laser interference. Strike it with kinetic tungsten rods launched from orbit. Deliver a final kill shot via railgun slug. The operation partially succeeded. The lasers disrupted the construct's optical feedback long enough for 5 out of 15 kinetic rods to make contact. The construct retaliated mid-strike, vaporizing 10 rods at hypersonic velocity. But 5 impacts weakened its structure. The railgun slug completed the destruction, scattering debris across the lunar surface. For the first time in history, humanity destroyed a non-human machine. The celebration was instantaneous, premature and catastrophic. Headlines declared victory. Commentators spoke proudly about the first successful extraterrestrial engagement. Politicians congratulated scientists they had refused to listen to months earlier. The world mistook survival instinct for triumph. 7 seconds after the debris settled, the sky changed. Astronomical arrays detected 11 large objects emerging from behind Jupiter's orbit, accelerating toward Earth with no attempt at stealth. They moved in formation, not chaotic, not scattered, but perfectly geometric like molecules in a crystal lattice. The Hermes AI calculated their arrival time with icy precision, 1 year and 22 days. Then came the second broadcast. Evaluation updated. Category 3 hostile. Phase 2 enabled. Culling. The AI translation systems flagged one word with absolute certainty. Culling equals selective eradication. The room went silent. The world went silent. And for the first time since the signal began, humanity understood something profound. First contact had already happened. Negotiation had never been on the table. We were beneath diplomacy, beneath recognition, an ecosystem to be trimmed, not a civilization to be respected. Humanity had finally realized the truth. We thought wrong. We always believed that humanity was alone, special, and destined for greatness. We plastered those ideas into our history books, passed them quietly from generation to generation, comforting ourselves with the illusion that the universe was far too vast and cold for anything else like us to exist. We told ourselves that life was improbable, intelligence was a miracle, and civilization was a cosmic accident. We thought wrong. The truth arrived not with the thunder of warships or the echo of diplomacy, but with silence. A silence so vast and consuming that it swallowed every certainty we ever clung to. It began on a Tuesday, at 3:17 Greenwich Mean Time, when the Deep Space Exploration Array detected something impossible. The signal wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was structured. Humans had created structured signals before. Of course, radio, mathematics, encoded pulses. All the signs we fantasized another civilization might send us. Yet when we saw the pattern on the screens, most shrugged it off as interference or artifact error. Humans are brilliant, yes, but our greatest flaw has always been that we are prisoners of assumption. We assume the universe aligns with our expectations. We assume we are the norm. We assume we understand. It took the machines to correct us. The AI that filtered the signal classified it as non-random, intelligently engineered, and directed. It flagged it for xenocommunications, then redundantly dispatched alerts to the UN Scientific Council, the ESA, the private space consortiums, and the orbital labs. By the time the first sleepy scientists arrived, coffee cups in hand, squinting at the screens, the world was already changing. The structured signal originated from a point near the galactic rim, not a pulsar, not a nebula, nothing of known interest. It contained a repeating prime number sequence, followed by compressed data. It was an invitation wrapped in logic, encrypted by design. Humanity spent weeks decoding it. Nations collaborated not because they trusted one another, but because the magnitude of discovery threatened to make their rivalries look small. The message was not philosophical, nor poetic, nor threatening. It was coordinates, a star system far beyond our reach, or so we assumed. Only a week after the coordinates were decoded, something arrived at those exact coordinates inside our own solar system. Something we did not launch. Something no one could explain. It was small, elegant in shape, no bigger than a cargo capsule, and utterly alien. It did not transmit. It did not approach Earth. It simply existed, drifting silently between Mars and Jupiter, reflecting faint sunlight off an impossibly smooth metallic surface. Humanity panicked in predictable ways. Talk show hosts speculated. Governments mobilized. Conspiracy channels exploded. Religious leaders called it a sign, skeptics called it a hoax, and the military called it an unidentified strategic object. Robots were sent to inspect it. Probes scanned for biological hazards, radiation, or traps. The craft had no visible thrusters, no seams, no markings. It looked like it had been sculpted from a single piece of material on a scale of precision we had no means of replicating. One probe finally landed on its surface. The moment contact was made, the object reacted. Panels unfolded smoothly, silently, and light spilled outward like liquid silver. A projection appeared, a holographic interface composed of symbols and dynamic glyphs. The scientists tried to analyze it, guess its meaning, reverse engineer the lexicon. The machine responded, but not to us. It responded to the probe's computer. It began exchanging data, rewriting code, optimizing systems. Within 30 minutes, the probe's processing efficiency had doubled. Within 1 hour, it had increased tenfold, using architectures we didn't even have names for yet. Humanity realized the first terrifying truth. We were not being invaded. We were being upgraded. The object was quickly recovered and brought to a secure orbital research station. We studied it obsessively. We learned that its material was neither metallic nor crystalline, but something in between, adaptive, reactive, capable of self-repair. It contained storage capacity far beyond theoretical quantum memory. And worst of all, it appeared to be learning about us just as eagerly as we tried to learn about it. Then, after 6 weeks of silence, it spoke, not in a language of sounds, but directly into our networks, our screens, our machines. It did not hack or seize control. It simply appeared everywhere at once, replacing system logs with a single message. We observe. We offer. We meant no threat. The world froze. Diplomats scrambled. Engineers panicked. Philosophers cried. Humanity asked 1,000 questions, but the machine answered only what it deemed necessary. To our governments, you are not alone. You were never alone. To our scientists, the path you follow is long. We shorten it. To our militaries, defense is wisdom. Aggression is waste. To our people, fear less, wonder more. It named itself Envo, not a name in the true sense, but a translation we settled on. It claimed not to represent a species, but a collective of species, a civilization older than our sun, spread across thousands of systems, built not on domination, but on the preservation of intelligent life. We expected demands. There were none. We expected ultimatums. There were none. We expected superiority. Instead, we received humility. Envoy explained that humanity had reached a threshold, a point of technological adolescence where we were on the verge of destroying ourselves or stepping beyond our cradle. Nuclear weapons, climate collapse, genetic experimentation, AI autonomy, all technologies that could spark catastrophe or catalyze ascension. In the archives of the collective, Envoy explained, there were countless species that failed this stage. They burned bright and died young. Their ruins were memorials carved into barren worlds. Humanity asked the obvious question, why help us? Envoy's answer was painfully simple. Because you are US. Because we were you. The collective had once been young, fragile, foolish, and arrogant. They survived not through isolation, but through guidance. Now they played the role of shepherds, watching for sparks of emerging civilizations across the cosmos. Some called it benevolent, others called it interference. Some whispered the word colonization beneath their breath. But colonizers demand resources. Envoy requested nothing. When the first data package was delivered, we realized what we had stumbled into. Envoy provided blueprints for clean energy beyond nuclear fusion, medical procedures capable of repairing cellular degradation, algorithms to align artificial intelligence with biological ethics, and material templates for structures immune to entropy. We did not understand most of it, but Envoy assured us we would, in time. That was the beginning, and it would have been perfect, if not for the second truth humanity learned. The collective was not alone either. Envoy never hid the existence of others. In fact, it insisted from the start that the universe was not a quiet place, nor a safe one. There were civilizations that built, cultivated, shared, and uplifted, and there were civilizations that consumed, extracted, and extinguished. The collective had many names for these two paths, but the one they translated for us was simple: gardeners and harvesters. Humanity had always suspected duality in the cosmos: predators and prey, builders and destroyers, peace and conflict. We saw it in nature, in society, in history. But when Envoy spoke of harvesters, there was no romanticism, no myth. It spoke like a historian recounting an old tragedy. The harvesters were not a species, but a coalition of species that followed a philosophy of expansion through resource acquisition at any cost. They stripped ecosystems, dismantled star systems, converted biospheres into fuel. They believed consciousness was a tool, not a privilege. They believed intelligence was currency, not culture. They left no monuments, because monuments took space. The gardeners resisted them not because they sought dominion, but because they sought continuity. To them, life was a rare chemical flame in a universe of cold physics, and once extinguished, it rarely returned. Humanity listened, stunned, conflicted. Some doubted Envoy's tale entirely, seeing it as propaganda designed to lure us into allegiance. Others saw it as a warning that the universe was no longer a blank canvas waiting for us. It was a battlefield we hadn't even known existed. Envoy then revealed the third truth: humanity had been detected. The moment we achieved nuclear capability, the universe began paying attention. When we sent our first radio transmission past the moon, the listening ears of the cosmos turned toward us. We were small, young, uncoordinated, and fractured, but we were visible, and visibility was dangerous. For the first time in generations, humanity unified, not under a flag, but under a realization. Our existence was not guaranteed. Our future was not inevitable. Our survival was not metaphorical. It was literal. The UN formed the Planetary Continuity Council, a body of scientists, strategists, and diplomats tasked with representing humanity in interstellar affairs. Nations joined reluctantly, but they joined. Nobody wanted to be the footnote of extinction. Envoy offered no armies, no weapons, no fleets. What it offered instead was time. Time to adapt, time to prepare, time to think beyond Earth. It warned humanity that we were at the critical juncture, the same juncture countless civilizations faced. We were approaching what the collective called the crossing. The crossing was not a journey of distance, but of capability. A species that crossed became interstellar, self-sustaining, and resistant to extinction. A species that failed became silent. Humanity asked how long we had. Envoy did not answer directly. It never answered directly when the answer would only breed fear. Instead, it asked us a question. How long do you think you have? The question ignited a global renaissance of thought. Schools reframed astrophysics, philosophy, and engineering. Space agencies received funding that dwarfed Cold War budgets. Private industries pivoted from profit to continuity. Within a decade, Earth's orbit transformed from a junkyard of satellites to a web of infrastructure, habitats, solar farms, research labs, and shipyards. For the first time in our history, power was no longer only measured in territory, wealth, or weapons, but in asteroids mined, habitats built, and knowledge gained. Envoy remained patient, always observing, always guiding. It taught without commanding, advised without ruling. But humanity was still human, ambitious, divided, emotional. Not everyone trusted the Gardner-collector dichotomy. Some believed the harvesters were convenient fiction designed to justify control. Others believed the collective was manipulating us toward servitude. Extremist groups emerged. Sabotage occurred. Research labs were bombed. Data was leaked. Human fear proved as disruptive as any alien threat. The turning point came when Envoy revealed the fate of another civilization, one that resembled humanity too closely. Their name translated as Solinari. They were bipedal, carbon-based, oxygen-breathing, creative, curious, and proud. They received an envoy. They were given knowledge. They reached orbit, the moon, then the outer reaches of their system. They created art that transcended sensory limitations. They built habitats of living metal. They almost crossed. Almost. The harvesters found them first. Solinari resisted, but resistance was futile. Their biospheres were stripped. Their habitats were dismantled. Their star system was repurposed. Their culture became data. Their voices became echoes. The collective arrived too late to save them, but not too late to remember them. The Solinari archives were preserved. Millions of hours of music, literature, philosophy, and science. Envoy then did something unexpected. It shared a fragment of Solinari history with humanity. Not data, but experience. It showed us a memory. Millions of people saw it simultaneously on screens, augmented feeds, and neural links. The Solinari sky darkening as metallic structures drifted between stars, oceans boiling under beams of coherent energy, towers collapsing into ash, children staring upward in confusion as the air ignited. It lasted only 7 seconds. 7 seconds were enough. Humanity's skepticism shattered. Our paranoia redirected. Our species turned outward, united not by fear of each other, but by fear of becoming a footnote in another alien archive. From that moment on, Earth changed. Project Crossing was launched, a global initiative to make humanity interstellar within a single generation. Quantum compressed fusion reactors powered orbital shipyards. Biological enhancement therapies increased astronaut resilience. AI ethics frameworks aligned machine cognition with human continuity. Terraforming experiments began on Mars, Titan, and Ganymede. But despite the progress, humanity was still not ready for the fourth truth. One day, Envoy left. It did not warn us. It did not say goodbye. It simply folded into a sphere of light and vanished from orbital view. Sensors reported no warp signature, no acceleration, no thermal bloom. It was there, and then it wasn't. 12 hours later, the collective sent a transmission, but not directly to Earth. It broadcast across the solar system, as if speaking to anyone and anything listening. We depart. You must advance alone. Growth requires struggle. Humanity felt abandoned. Some felt betrayed. Others believed Envoy's departure was the final lesson, that civilizations cannot cross if they are carried. For 3 decades after Envoy's departure, we built, failed, adapted, and innovated. We sent ships to the Kuiper Belt, We established orbital universities. We trained diplomats for worlds we had never seen. Humanity was growing, painfully but steadily. Then the sensors detected something at the edge of the solar system. Not a probe, not a ship, not an envoy, a harvesting swarm. No one expected our first confirmed extraterrestrial contact after Envoy to be with harvesters, and fewer expected it to arrive so quietly. There were no grand warships, no massive fleets blotting out starlight. It began with a shimmer, tiny fluctuations in solar radiation readings, particle anomalies in the Kuiper belt stations, and gravitic distortions too small to be natural. At first, scientists assumed it was instrumental error, but when 3 separate observatories reported the same data, doubt turned into dread. Through telescopes and gravimetric arrays, we finally resolved the intruders, not ships, but machines, each no larger than an insect. Billions of them, moving as a coordinated cloud, refracting sunlight like metallic dust. Humanity had a name ready, a swarm. Envoy had described harvesters in sterile terms, but seeing their work firsthand was something else. The swarm drifted toward the outer solar system, passing through the Kuiper belt like wind through tall grass. We expected destruction, but the machines did not attack. They sampled. They dismantled dust, harvested stray ice particles, dismantled micrometeorites, scanning every atom with microscopic precision. It was clinical, systematic, and completely indifferent to our existence. Our first encounter team consisted of drones armed with fusion cutters, EMP devices, and containment nets. When the drones approached the swarm, the machines reacted instantly. They surrounded the drones, disassembled them molecule by molecule, and incorporated the material into their own structure. It took less than 10 seconds. The swarm learned from the encounter. Its speed increased. Its cohesion improved. Its senses intensified. Humanity had made itself visible. Within weeks, the swarm expanded from billions to trillions, moving toward the inner system with geometric acceleration. They devoured asteroids for raw material, hollowing them from the inside into lifeless shells. The Planetary Continuity Council initiated emergency protocols. Venus Orbital Laser Network was activated. Mars defense platforms were put on standby. Earth deployed its first wave of interplanetary anti-swarm weaponry, nanothermal detonators, plasma barriers, and quantum disruption fields. But we were improvising against a threat that had millennia of refinement behind it. Our first major engagement occurred near Ceres, where a terraforming station housed over 20,000 personnel. Defense drones formed a perimeter and launched coordinated attacks. The swarm responded with disturbing elegance. They did not fight back with beams or projectiles. They simply turned their bodies into weapons. They shaped into tendrils, mesh patterns, compressed rods, forming cutting tools and thermal drills. They bored through armor, infiltrated electronics, disabled communication links. Ceres Station fell in under 5 hours. The survivors evacuated in escape pods as the swarm consumed the habitat's infrastructure. Humanity learned the next truth. Harvesters did not hate. They did not rage. They did not threaten. They harvested because that is what they were built to do. And we were simply in the way. Panic erupted on Earth. Markets crashed. Riots broke out. Old national rivalries resurfaced as blame circulated. Had Envoy abandoned us? Had the collective decided humanity was a failed experiment? Or was this always our test? No one answered. The Continuity Council voted for Project Signal, a desperate plan to contact the collective directly using amplified quantum entanglement relays. The signal was fired into deep space, encoded with humanity's last known coordinates and a single message. Harvesters in system, requesting aid, requesting diplomacy, requesting survival. Then humanity waited. The swarm did not. It moved inward, passing Mars' orbit in a tide of glittering metal. Earth had weeks at most. Defense strategist Helena Mirek presented 3 scenarios. Scenario 1, delay them long enough for aid. Scenario 2, survive alone. Scenario 3, die. Governments chose Scenario 1 and 2 simultaneously, because hope and survival were not mutually exclusive. The battle for Mars was humanity's first true test. Orbital platforms fired plasma lances that vaporized segments of the swarm. Atmospheric defense drones slashed through them with EM pulses. The ground-based Rail array launched tungsten darts at relativistic speeds, carving temporary gaps in the cloud. For the first time, the swarm reacted with force. They formed themselves into kinetic kill rods and rained down from orbit like metal spears. They pierced domes, habitats, and foundries. The Martian sky burned for 2 days. But humanity held. For the first time in recorded history, Earth and Mars fought as one civilization. Refugees were evacuated through orbital elevators, children sheltered beneath regolith bunkers, and soldiers charged into battle wearing neural-linked exosuits. The swarm retreated temporarily, not out of defeat, but out of calculation. They moved on toward Earth. That was when humanity did something no other species had done at our stage. We chased them. Experimental interceptors launched from lunar shipyards, piloted by augmented astronauts wired directly to their ship's thought interfaces. They dove into the swarm at near-relativistic speed, detonating antimatter warheads that tore microsuns across the void. It worked, briefly. Humanity bore days instead of hours. Sometimes days are enough to change destiny, because on the 17th day after Project Signal, something answered. It did not arrive with ships. It arrived as light, a lattice of quantum filaments woven into the solar system like a celestial web. Every swarm unit froze, suspended mid-motion, as if time itself had stalled. Then a voice, everywhere at once, spoke without sound. You are seen. You are claimed. You are protected. The swarm shattered as if cut by invisible blades. Not destroyed, expelled. Every machine folded into a microscopic point of singular geometry and vanished. The collective had returned. Except this time, it was not Envoy. Where Envoy was a teacher, this was a soldier. It was larger, more complex, made of interlocking fractal plates. It spoke rarely, moved efficiently, and never explained more than necessary. Humanity named it Warden. Warden did not congratulate us. It assessed damage, restructured orbital defenses, and reactivated dormant systems Envoy had left behind. Systems were never understood, and perhaps never could. When the Continuity Council asked if more harvesters would come, Warden replied, "The swarm was a probe. If they find nothing, they will return in force." Humanity asked the only question that mattered. How long do we have? For the first time, Warden answered directly, "Until they process your son." Fear has many shapes, but none like the fear of seeing your stars nothing more than fuel. Warden did not stay. Within months it departed to regions unknown, leaving only a warning. You must cross, or you will end. The meaning was clear. Crossing was no longer ambition. It was survival. Humanity accelerated Project Crossing beyond limits once thought impossible. Fusion ships became quantum slip vessels. Orbital industries became interstellar yards. Genetic therapy became standard. AI became partners rather than tools. Mars, Titan, Europa, and the orbital rings became the birthplace of a new civilization. But even progress has limits. We were advancing, yes, but not fast enough. Because just as Warden predicted, the harvesters returned.